Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kakasungura YouTube channel. As I previously said in other videos, we want to rescue Betty Kwamboka. I spoke to Betty Kwamboka and I felt the weight in her. You can see from the background, Betty Kwamboka is a lady who lost sight at Form 3, and she's really pleading help from us. She wants a sewing machine so that she can make sweaters and sell, so that she can stand on her own without depending on the mother, who is also struggling to pay rent in one of the houses they have rented in one of the towns. They're living a difficult life. So Betty is really in tears. She's really crying to us for help. Guys, I know we've done this before, and we can do for Betty. Let's all gather and put a smile on Betty's face. We have so far raised 32,000, and I want to thank each and every individual who has put his pockets. We are raising 50,000. So I'm hoping by tomorrow tutakuwa tumemaliza 50,000 so that we move to initiating how we will get that machine so that we hand it over officially to Betty so that she can start our business. And by the way, I will bring some of the sweaters in this platform to Nunue so that we support her in growing her business. Ametulilia sana, and I know through you guys, through the people watching this video, we can do it, and we have already done it before. Back to the Kenyan politics. Today, Raila Ondiga has released William Ruto's report card in 100 days in government. Raila has pointed out a number of issues in a detailed report, which I'm going to give you a summary. In the report card, which Raila has ranked as poor, Raila says that William Ruto has appointed officers into his government who are, in fact, all of them, in fact, 90% of his team is a corruptly tainted team as per Raila Ondiga. He has listed a number of people like Musalia Mudavadi and the rest. He says Musalia Mudavadi has been involved in major scandals, the Golden Bank scandal, so many scandals. So, number one, Raila says William Ruto's officers whom he has appointed into office are already corrupt individuals. So, they are not clean to run, or they are not clean, fit into the public office. Raila has further said that as we speak, the high cost of getting medication, the cost of getting medication as we speak is high because Kenyans are yet to receive the free NHIF cover that Ruto promised during the campaigns. So Kenyans are suffering, paying high bills in the hospital, and Ruto promised to work on that in 100 days, which he hasn't done so. On education, Ruto has removed subsidies on school fees, forcing parents to toil and sweat in taking their children to school, which Raila Ondiga says is something that was not in their manifesto, and they have intentionally decided to kusumbua wa Kenya na mambo mengine. Raila also further says, I want to take you to chapter 7, constitutionalism and the rule of law. Raila is saying, number one, Ruto has killed and buried chapter 6 of the constitution. Number two, Raila says, Ruto is proving to be thin-skinned and vindicative. Number four, Ruto is out to silence free media. He's ganging the media. Another one, Ruto is using Christianity to usher in autocracy. Let me expound this as how Raila has put it. While the constitution clearly states that in Kenya there is no state religion, President Ruto has at every opportunity tried to mainstream Christianity at the expense of all other religions and beliefs. He is on record famously stating that Kenya is a Christian nation and I have no apologies to make to anybody. While many Christians and particularly evangelical have found this as a spiritually inspired devotion, President Ruto is trying to play out the Zambian script in Kenya and usher in autocracy that supports an autocratic rule. Both President Frederick Chiloba of Zambia and President Edgar Lungu tried to use Christianity as a cover to implement autocratic rule over Zambians. Zambians eventually realized that it was a ruse, and their position on the hypocritical use of Christianity was captured by the words of Archbishop John Mambo, head of the Church of God in Zambia, who said, "There is a rise in immorality and corruption in our country, which puts a question mark on our being called a Christian nation. There is very little to show that we are a Christian nation with so much wrongdoings, both in private and public life. There is nothing to distinguish us from secular." Chapter 8. Raila says that Ruto has established a functional and coherent Raila is saying establishing a functional and coherent administration. He is saying the following are some of the tragic, dismaying, and sometimes outrageously comical actions and pronouncements of the Ruto administration. There are so many, but I want to read a few. President Ruto announced an assurity program that would involve shaving 300 billion from the budget in a bid to curb wastage. The affected expenditures were foreign travel, trainings, purchase of furniture, and motor vehicles. Since the Kenya administration came into power, Ruto has done so many travels in this world. Among them, in less than 100 days, he has been in office. It's a long explanation, which I might not read, ladies and gentlemen. In also this, Raila Ondiga on economy has said William Ruto has burdened the Kenyans with the following: public debt, hustler fund, bottom-up versus austerity measure of ambitions on political conmanship. And in chapter what here, see, this is chapter 1. Chapter 1, Ruto is also accusing William Ruto of practicing ethnic and regional imbalance in his appointments. Ruto has listed the appointments in Ruto's government, which he says lacks gender balance and lacks ethnic balance, and says majority of the appointments in Ruto's government has been favored to the people of Rift Valley and Central Kenya at large. So Raila said William Ruto's government lacks gender balance, lacks ethnic and regional balance. Now, also in chapter 2, it says, William Ruto has appointed tainted people into office and has listed a number of cases that are facing the people that William Ruto has appointed into office. Chapter 1, Raila talks of agriculture and food security, which is saying Ruto is using Uhuru Kenyatta's strategy to convert it into his own in providing fertilizer subsidy, where Raila said President Uhuru Kenyatta, before he left office, had already unveiled a 5.7 billion fertilizer subsidy fund, which could see farmers pay 2,800 for a 50 kg bag of fertilizer. Ruto is actualizing this and converting this into his own manifesto. Number 2, Raila is saying Ruto is intentionally and forcibly feeding Kenyans with genetically modified food by force, which he says was banned years ago and was disallowed to be used in this country, which he has said it's hot air. In summary, this is what Raila says. The first 100 days of the Kenya Kwanza regime have been marked by pronouncements, actions, and policy failures that evidence a troubling trend lying across the spectrum. An overarching theme is already emerging. The key takeaways this early at the Kenya Kwanza's regime disdain for the constitution and laws of Kenya, the contempt for democracy and its institutions, the flagrant violation of Chapter 6 of the Constitutional Leadership and Integrity, the intolerance and speed with which the regime has run roughshod of the rule of law, the rush to destroy the political opposition and quash dissent, the blatant thwarting of the free press, and the naked attempt to kill devolution. All of these actions have been taken without the least attempt to even camouflage the dictator's hand to cap it all. The state has moved quickly to capture the IBC and the judiciary, the two key pillars of Kenya's democracy. What is shocking is that while taking off these malign actions, the state has utterly failed to give the people breathing space for penury, from expensive and bloated foreign trips, with hundreds of cronies, heavy and unsustainable borrowing, the runaway prices of basic commodities, and the removal of essential subsidies that gave relief to the most vulnerable. The Kenya Kwanza administration has been torn deaf to the economic plight of the majority of Kenyans. In the first 100 days of the Kenya Kwanza regime are anything to go by. Kenyans face a long stretch of destitution and tyranny unless something is done to change the course. That is Raila Ondinga's brief report, which is heavy. And if you want to read the full report, it's available online. It's detailed, which we might spend like 1 hour or so to go through it, but I've given you a summary. And Raila has rubbished 100 days in Ruto's government and terming the days that nothing but hot air itself. God bless you.